I love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, John Carden, and today I have the Johnny and Connie show. Not just kidding. They kind of said that's how people introduce them a lot. But I have John and Connie Kuder with me today, and I'm excited to interview them because they are business coaches and near and dear to my heart, right? Coaching people in their businesses. And I'm excited because they are doing some different things in their business that I know you as entrepreneurs are going to find really empowering. And you're going to find some real value in this show today. So both of you, welcome to my show. I'm happy to have you.
Thanks, Ann. It's good to be here.
Yes. So let's dive right into this. And first of all, they're both business coaches and they coach multi-generational family businesses. And the reason for that is they have 30 years experience in family business. And it was really a natural fit for them. Is that right?
That's right. That's where we both come from. Mm-hmm. Connie is, we guess, the 10th generation on a family farm in Ohio.
That's
goes
amazing.
Back to, when
pre-Ohio,
before Ohio was a state. And I was third generation in our family agriculture business. I didn't get the pleasure of working with my grandfather and my father both at the same time, but I was third generation. So yeah, it's kind of in our blood.
Yeah. And agriculture for both of you, really, right?
Agriculture for both of us.
Okay. All right. Great.
And different forms of agriculture. Well, his was cattle, orange groves, and an egg farm. And mine was soybeans, corn, and wheat.
Well, you all have quite an array of expertise there. Wow. You could help almost any agricultural business or farm.
Well, and we can do it from a gentleman type of farming, whereas John's family, his dad had an office and would go there every day and work, and his grandfather. Whereas in my family, you lived in your office. That was your house. You're on the farm. You were out.
They were riding tractors.
Yeah, we were riding tractors. His group was not.
Yeah. I love this, and this was one of the reasons I wanted to have you both on the show because I thought this was so interesting, and what really got you into the coaching space. But what made you decide to coach? What made you decide to go into business coaching? I mean, I get that you have all this expertise and background, but why coaching?
It was the years of internal struggle. It was the years of working in the business and struggling with the family role versus the business role, and the
surviving the holidays.
Yes, yeah,
and the tensions around working together. We lived on a family property next door to my parents. Mm-hmm. We were out in the country. And so we lived next door. And then I went to work and, was at the office with my father all day. So
and then I joined.
And then Connie joined later. We were, we lived and worked together for all those years. And that's a lot of togetherness. And so it breeds, you have to adapt to that. And it's not always a healthy adaptation. Mm-hmm. If you're not trained, if you don't have the tools. And so that searching for ways to change, searching for better solutions and not finding them, and then eventually finding them made me want to coach and save somebody else the difficulty.
I think we all get into business like that. Same thing for me. For many years I made tons of mistakes, and I always say, "Gosh, if I would have had an Ann back back then, knowing what I know now, right?" And so it's really easy to want to take all of that knowledge and that experience and just really go out and make a difference in other people's lives, to shortcut them and speed their results. So I totally get it. I think it's how most of us start in this industry. So one of the things that we talked about when we talked about the topic for the show is we talked about the inner game. And, it's really funny because I didn't really hear a lot about mindset until, I don't know, later, I think when the internet and we started getting more online, mindset started becoming a thing, inner game. I started understanding all of that. But for a lot of years, I had never heard that term, and I didn't really understand that. So how did you get into sort of the mindset and the inner game work that you all do now with clients?
Wow.
Long time ago.
I was going to say, my interest probably started when I was a kid, 10 or 12 years old, seeing a guy named Kreskin. He was a mentalist. He was basically a magician, but he sparked my curiosity and my imagination. And so I was always interested in what's the potential of our mind and what can we do? And just so that searching for meaning and understanding was always there.
Yeah. And then we met in a self-help group, actually.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember
spiritual self-development program. It was called the Inner Peace Movement.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think it exists anymore, but formally. But
But he was all of 17.
Oh my goodness, you really were young. I wish I would have been that smart way back in one of my teenage years. It took me a lot longer.
Well, and there again, we've kind of taken breaks from it, throughout. I mean, we still have the training and we still have the knowledge and the drive to a point, but there again, but I think small family business, get life.
I think once you get on that course of like personal development and personal growth, it's really hard to get off that hamster wheel. I mean, once I really understood mindset, in fact, when I wrote my first book, oh my goodness, I don't even know how many years ago that's been, I had really kind of just learned about mindset, and it was such a game changer to me that it literally is the first chapter in my first book. I talk about, the mindset of success. And when I think about where, learning that for the first time or really kind of getting a hold of that, like it's never gone away. You're just on this, you just are on this journey to continue growing and developing and working on that inner game. And for years now I've been doing it, but gosh, if I could have done it at 17, imagine where I would be. So I love that. That's really amazing that you all kind of learned that at an early age and took that road.
And then more recently, we've, I guess, accelerated that into, life is changing faster.
Oh, right? Gosh, yes.
We've got all these forces in our world that are just keep accelerating. The internet being a huge one.
Information overload.
Absolutely.
Change, and that presents a real challenge for mindset. The big proponent, I guess, of mindset was a lady named Carol Dweck that wrote a book, and she talked about the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Right.
And so, in very general terms, yes, that's great. We need to have a growth mindset, but what do you do?
Right.
How do you behave? And more recent adaptations or implementations of mindset I've seen are about having this certainty and forming very solid beliefs in something, and that becomes a trap because it doesn't change, it doesn't adapt. And so the things that allow us to adapt, I've got a Darwin quote I keep on my desk here, is it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, it is the most adaptable to change.
Oh my goodness, true statement. Absolutely. Well, think about Kodak, think about Blockbuster. Gosh, we could name lots of them, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Didn't shift fast enough, didn't
Right.
adapt fast enough, didn't believe, had a closed mind.
Yeah. And their mindset was in one thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
no matter what, that was not going to change. Look how many people that never believed that the stock market would go down.
Look how many people, this is one of my favorites. Do you remember the old days of Dick Tracy? So for those of you listening
Yes.
to this on audio, I am holding up my Apple Watch that I now talk on. And
exactly.
answer, yes, right? And so, no, I love that we're talking about this, because one of the things I know for all the years in business, the things that allowed me to be sustainable and build successful businesses and even sell those is I was always looking for the change to be different. I was always looking for the shift. Even through COVID, my business did not go away. Other people's did. You know, I was able to adapt through all of that. And so I love that we're talking about this, because that, to me, that is the epitome of business. And it's not going, it doesn't change.
Right.
You were using our secret, and I say our like people, secret superpower. That's not a secret at all. That's hiding in plain sight. And that's curiosity. So you had an attitude, or a habit actually of curiosity, of always looking. And
No,
thinking,
it was actually boredom. So probably a little ADHD. And
okay.
yeah, it was, you know, my employees used to laugh and go, well, we're at 90 days. It's about time for Ann to change something. I'm not kidding when I say that.
Wow.
But a lot of that.
And that's good for you. Good for you. Because there's a lot of people that say, you know, I set this up and it's not going to change.
Right. But not only that, I was always looking to be better and make everything better and make everything better for my clients and my customers. And so I was always driving to be, you know, really the best around in what I was doing. And I think I'm just wired that way. But some of it, you know, was I also didn't want to get bored. So there is that.
Well, it's very much a growth orientation, and not afraid of change. And I suspect that you are also a person who is okay with being uncomfortable.
Oh gosh, it's, you know what, here's what I say about that, John and Connie. I say that's really like a muscle that you build up. I think the more you step out of fear, the more you step into discomfort and you get really used to that, you are building up that muscle where you're willing to take risk. I don't really worry about investing money and things like that, because I have learned that the best things always come on the other side of that, always. And I don't allow those things to ever stop me. And I've just learned that through the years. But, you know, has it always been easy? No. But it is like a muscle. I think the more you do it, the more you step out of that fear, the more you don't stop yourself from something that you know you really want to do or need to do, the easier it gets. It's still uncomfortable.
Yes, but you're still safe.
Doesn't stop you. Yeah,
that's what stops a lot of people is mixing up that idea of, you know, when they feel uncomfortable, they feel unsafe, and so they stop, and that's where they want to keep everything the same, you know. And we have, you know,
there's no security in that. I just want to share that.
Right.
Our evolutionary, you know, tendency is to try to, you know, avoid change when we can, but it's silly because things change constantly. So right.
No, I think that's really important, and that's why I do think the inner game and what we were talking about is so valuable and so important. And I always say, a lot of people don't think of as a small business owner. Now, I think entrepreneurs are a lot more open-minded because they're online, they're seeing a lot more, but small business owners have a tendency to get stuck in their business. And that means they get stuck in their thinking and they don't have the same exposure as people that are online and out there reading and seeing things consistently, taking in information. And so one of the things that I have always said with small business owners, well, with anyone in business, but there are two games in business. There's the inner game, there's the outer game.
Right.
The inner game is what drives the outer game. So if you don't, if you don't have that inner game going, you're not going to be taking the right actions. You're going to be making poor decisions. You're going to even stop yourself from making decisions that you need to make, like firing an employee, or that you should have fired a year ago. I've worked with people that held on to somebody that was just a cancer in their business. So yeah, I think if people realize there are literally, you have to have both. You almost can't be highly succespecial without both of them.
True. Exactly. One's going to limit the other.
Yeah.
It's usually, people, especially a founder, with a strong drive and a strong talent can build a business so far, and then they hit a ceiling.
That's it.
Without changing and improving how they play the inner game, they're just stuck there.
Yeah.
And family businesses, you think about, you were saying, smaller businesses getting stuck in their business. Now think about a family where the family dynamics are some form of, we don't talk about the business outside the business. This is our family.
Yeah, very closed off. Yes.
And it becomes more insulated yet and isolated.
Yeah.
And then the change, the family roles don't change.
Right.
I mean, the father or mother is always the father or mother.
You're right.
So, when I was 50 years old, I still felt like the kid. And that was a little weird, but I think that's not uncommon.
That isn't.
So when those roles don't change, it's hard for the people that have those family roles to shift their roles within the business fluidly. Because of, there's it either feels like a betrayal or a challenge, a rivalry.
Right. So one of the things I'm hearing you say that you can really do is you can really go in and sort of help facilitate that transition. Would that be an accurate statement?
That's part of it. You mentioned, that's interesting. We've got a little guide that we put together and call it Harmony Guide. But the succession from one generation to another is what it's very visible. And a lot of people focus on that, and a lot of advisors focus on that because it's important, but it's the last step in a chain. And the foundation is identity. There's identity, then equity, and then succession. And identity, everybody's got to know who they are, and they've got to have their roles and relationships clear and be communicating well.
Yes.
At that for the business to thrive.
Right.
And then there's this
good stuff.
So we've got.
And I want to point out, and I knew this, and I'm trying to remember what the statistics are, but the failure rate, I don't remember the numbers, but the failure rate of generational businesses is very, very high, even to second generation. Because, and I think we even discussed that the kids either don't want to take it over, or like you said, that role can't change. And so there's all this friction, the family dynamic doesn't shift, and all of that cause it, even if the kids a lot of times do want to take it over, or they're very passionate about it, mom and dad don't want to let it go, or grandpa and grandma don't want to, or whoever that is, they don't want to let that go. They don't want to let go of control. They still think, oh my gosh. I think of a client that I worked with. It was a couple that had bought his father's business. And then they brought me in because they wanted outside help and all of that. And it was like, I felt like I was fighting with the father. Not even the couple was like on board with everything I was doing. And it was a fight with the father, even though he had sold the business to them.
Yeah.
He just wouldn't let go.
Yeah.
They paid a lot of money for the business. So this is great that we're talking about this.
Yeah.
And we've watched it happen over and over again, not only in our business, but in our friends' businesses, because we're from a small town where there is a lot of family businesses, and watching those transitions. And if it goes to the third generation, wow. It can either, the business will either explode or implode.
Yeah.
At that point too.
Yeah.
And there again, is everybody talking to each other
Right. Right.
at holidays?
Yeah, that's true too. And like you said, you can't, it's hard to get away from it when you're spending 24/7 with these people, or you're, and their family on top of it. So, gosh, I could see where there would be such a value in what you all are helping people do with that, because that's a tough spot to be in. I mean, my dad was always an entrepreneur, so my mom worked in the business with him, all the time too. And it wasn't anything we wanted to take over or do, but I just remember even sometimes some of that friction. My dad had ideas, my mom had ideas, and, and so all of those things are hard things to navigate. So you're helping people do that.
And each situation is completely unique. There are themes, right. There are common themes like we've talked about, but everyone's unique. So it's got to be a custom. Custom fit. There's no one cookie cutter, one size fits all.
Yeah. So one of the things too, you all talked about was when you go in and you work, when you help people do this, you want to help them have the lasting change. And I talk a lot about transformation. Don't just go in. I talk to coaches and consultants about this all the time. Don't be a transaction to your clients. That's not going to help them, right? Don't go in and do one thing, fix one thing and leave. And I will tell you, I used to do that until I would watch them go right back to what they did before they ever brought me in, because habits take a while, and learning something new takes a while, and it takes a while to implement things and execute things. So if you're just one and done and you're out the door, now that you're leaving them to fend for themselves, and they're not equipped. So I love that you talk about lasting change when you work with people. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So when you talk about transactional, I hear tactical too.
That's another way to say
tactical
it.
is the the shortest time frame and the most, and the next level above that is strategic, as I know
Yes.
because you're very strategic, and then above that is principle. So in terms of the inner game, we're really trying to get people operating at the principle level, where we're focusing on how you think rather than what you think about.
I love that.
It's a lot of the concepts and skills are really simple, and they seem obvious in hindsight. I mean, like, duh.
Well, we just talked about this. You can't read the label from inside the jar. So
right. Right. So we've coined the phrase the invisible obvious. We deal in the invisible obvious because it's right there. A lot of times it's something that's been there long enough that it's become invisible. We joke about that because I can set something down on a table and randomly, and then 2 or 3 days I'll look for it and I'll say, where's such and such? Because it's not where I keep it.
Why? Because we're run by our subconscious mind, right?
And then it's sitting in plain sight. I mean, it's right there, but it's not where I was in my head. I had it positioned. So the same kind of stuff happens in businesses all the time. They'll have there's a storage closet that's you're scared to open the door because everything's going to fall out, or there's there's inventory that hasn't been counted in 6 years, and there's just stuff that's there that's because it's faded into the background.
You just ignore it. Like the dirt in the corners, right, Connie?
Invisible. Right.
How many times do you walk by the dirt in the corners?
Exactly.
and these things, as well as family members within a business, we can, or just as people, we think we're hiding who we are and what we're about, and other people, they see it so plainly. So, if you were to go into just about any family business and ask some of the non-family employees, stuff, they can tell you stuff about the family and what goes on in the family, that the family would be shocked that they knew. And yet it's right there in front of them. And
we've both worked in other people's family businesses too. So we're kind of experts on that also.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I agree with what you're saying. People know more than you give them credit for. And I think this is just really, really interesting. One of the things that you did talk a lot about was, strategies and principles. And I think also a lot of family businesses don't run strategically. So I think that's a big issue. And if they do have a laid out strategy, it's a much easier plan to follow. But a lot of them don't. They kind of fly by the seat of their pants, so to speak. And they do what's next. And like even
Yes.
a lot of times from a tactical standpoint, or what they did the year before. My favorite, you probably know this too. So I was taught that you run your numbers by what happened the year before. Well, that's just stupid. That has no relevance to what's going on. Did you ever learn that? Even back when I managed in retail for 13 years, we looked at last year's numbers and everything was compared to last year. It wasn't compared to what's going on in the last quarter or what's going on in the last couple of months, right? So that's like an old way of being strategic in business. But
if you think about agriculture and how slowly, crops grow, and you get one crop a year, we did with oranges. So yeah, that kind of stuff, that
it's
don't even
irrelevant.
think to question that.
Right. But I think that those are a lot of outdated, like now we have better information. We have more knowledge. We have more, we're just smarter these days, I think, when it comes to business and what's available that we know.
Yeah, and the world is becoming, the world of business is becoming data driven in every
Absolutely.
aspect. And so measuring, there's, I forget, I think it would maybe Peter Drucker, but I forget who said it, but some variation of what gets measured gets managed.
Yep.
Or you can't, and so that's another thing that, I think that there, in terms of an issue in family businesses is the pace of technology. The founding generation might still, depending on their age, might still have some distrust of technology and computers, and isn't all that data driven. They keep it up here.
Yeah.
And, so there's a need for that evolution, and recognizing and accepting that need can sometimes be hard. Again, if the roles aren't clear,
Yes.
if we can't keep the business roles separate from the family roles.
Yeah.
And it's important too for we've talked about this, for that whoever the founder is or the president, however you want to put it, they can walk away for a month and come back and know that the business is still viable and still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's a goal.
That's a goal.
Yes. And most of them can't do that. For sure.
Most people can't do that.
Right.
So a great question for a family business. When's the last time you took a 2-week or longer vacation?
Right.
And
and if you were to get ill or whoever, who's the keeper of that information?
Right. And that goes back to in the old days, so to speak, people didn't do that. Their business was their job. Mm-hmm. But we're in a different world. And the one thing that I have seen is entrepreneurs have kept up with that, but small business owners have not kept up with that change in that transition of the world of business today. A good example of that is how many of them don't have websites, how many of them don't have social media, how many of them are not online. They think it's not important. Are you kidding me? It's a necessity in the marketplace today, and you're missing huge opportunity in your business and really to even be sustainable. Mm-hmm. We were talking about generational. I had a conversation with someone, this was a lot of years ago, but it was a little gal that wanted to talk to me. She was taking over her dad's business, and it was a printing company, and he did not want to go digital. She wanted to buy digital equipment, all new digital equipment. He had the old stuff, and she could not convince him. And, I just said, I can't help you. This is between the two of you to figure out. I can't help you until you're ready to get help. He didn't even want help in the company. Mm-hmm. He wanted to figure it out for themselves. And I don't ever know what really happened in that situation. That was, like I said, a lot of years ago, but that's a perfect example of them not wanting to make change, them not moving into the future with their business. So
yeah,
they're again moving out of their comfort zone to something new that's scary.
Yes.
And being that uncomfortable.
And that's the essence of it right there.
Exactly.
Right.
That resistance is, if it was a matter of, well, okay, I can be curious. Let's try that. Let's try it on a small scale. I mean, from marketing, everything is testing, right? You don't just put your whole, year's marketing budget or whatever on one ad and roll the dice.
Right.
You test and try and tweak, and everything in business is like that.
Yeah, but I want to say something about that, because that is also the value of a coach and someone with experience that's been there, done it. They already have insights. And maybe they've even done that with other clients, and they're pretty confident that it will work. That's the value. The problem with people is they want to try to figure it out themselves. They want to take the slow road. I say, look, you can take the horse and buggy, and you can probably burn up a lot of money along the way, or you can hire someone that can help you take the jet plane, can speed your success, and probably has a pretty good idea that something's going to work if they're recommending it. For me, I don't recommend things if I'm not fairly confident that they're going to work. And I know you are the same way. So that is the value of hiring someone with background, with experience, with expertise. And it's too bad that business owners a lot of times don't think like that. And they don't realize, wow, maybe, why reinvent the wheel? Why not just pull from someone else's knowledge?
Exactly. Or what's the, another way of asking is, what's the opportunity cost of doing it myself?
Absolutely.
I love doing stuff myself. I've loved learning, and it would be embarrassing to add up how many hours I spent learning Microsoft Excel. Rather than taking a class.
Oh, so now I know who to call when I need help with Excel. Not my wheelhouse.
But so there's value in doing it yourself, because there's a deep learning that happens from making a lot of mistakes and figuring stuff out. There's also a cost in your time, and
Right.
you got to figure out when is it more effective to save your time.
Yes. Yeah, I have that conversation with coaches and consultants all the time. Is it cost effective for you to be doing all this stuff yourself? Or, could you speed things if you just let go of a little bit of the money you're making, so that, you're not, that's how really you can grow and scale faster and make things happen. But there is a cost always, right?
There's a cost to that. And there's a cost to that delegation. There's a cost in both making it clear enough, creating a system that you can hand off to somebody else.
Yes.
And then there's the trust and the oversight that goes into that. And a lot of that is, again, skill sets they haven't learned. And so,
but it's also mindset, because
yes,
how many times do small business owners not want to let go of control? Oh, nobody can do it as good as me. Nobody can. Yes. I thought that way for a long time. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, I did think that way in some of my businesses, but I quickly realized if this thing's going to grow, it has to grow beyond me, and I have to trust other people. And I'm going to stay in the parts that I love, and I'm going to bring in other people that are better at other areas. And I can remember one of my health clubs at one time, she was my kind of my admin person, and she was amazing. And she said, no, Ann, just don't touch the register. Just don't, this is not your expertise. Now, there's a lot of things I'm really good at, but there's other things I'm just not. And, and I don't want to take the time to learn all of those little details and all of those little things. Now that's kind of a big overview of what we were really talking about. But
if a business owner, to bring it back to the family business, we don't, it's not always going to go to the next generation. Sometimes the next generation doesn't want to, that's just not their thing. And that has to be honored too. Right. Mm-hmm. But if one of the options is to be able to sell the business,
right.
If you're hoping at any point to sell the business, that business better be able to run without you, because that's the only way anybody's going to buy it.
Mm-hmm. That's what people buy.
And they don't think about that. Business brokers, so many business brokers are, have to deliver this bad news. No, go back and run the company and get it, get it where it'll run without you, and then I can sell it for you.
It's like 20% of businesses are even sellable.
Right.
I believe that it's about 20%.
I didn't know the number, but that's very believable.
It's low. Yeah. And I sold 5 businesses. And the reason I did is because I learned that to build something that didn't require me, could run without me, and it could still go. And one of the businesses is on its third owner, and they're still using the same systems, the same everything.
Cool.
Yeah, same exact thing, because I see what goes on with it. So yeah, those are really important things. So it's like, I guess you could say it's on its third generation, but not in the same family. So, but those are things that a lot of people, they miss the opportunity. And why would you want to just shut down your business when you decide to quit, or get out of it?
You're giving up so much value doing that.
Oh, a ton. So yeah.
There's a really fun little book, a nice story about that. It's called Built to Sell.
I love that book.
On Amazon for like $5. You've read it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a great book. I mean, there's a lot of really good ones out there. I can't even think of it now. Oh my goodness.
The E-Myth Revisited?
E-Myth. I couldn't think of it. It was one of the first books I ever read around.
Yeah, that's very, I think that's very much about systematizing.
Systematizing and all of that. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of great stuff out there. Well, this has been so fun. Anything else that you all would like to add that we didn't discuss? And then we're going to share how people can get a hold of you, how they can find you, and all the good stuff.
The only thing I would add is don't learn from the lesson that my father taught me, and is don't wait to ask for help until you're desperate.
Oh, yeah,
it's too late.
My father was just he was going to go down with the ship,
and he did.
And by the time he waited for by the time he asked for help, it was
it's too late.
Ego runs businesses.
Yes.
It absolutely ego and pride.
It is not an admission of failure or
lack of intelligence or lack of
anything else.
Passion.
No, a lot of times it's just a lack of like you didn't
lack of experience.
You don't know it's just you don't know something, and
or fresh eyes.
Yes,
invisible, obvious. Fresh eyes. Somebody coming in from outside can see stuff you can never see because you're in the movie.
Yeah, I love that one. My favorite one is when you're playing in the game, you can't see everything like the fans in the stand.
Yes.
So I love the one, seeing in the movie. So that's a good one too. We're just full of them, aren't we?
Yes.
No, this has been great for both. I just loved having both of you on here. Great conversation.
Yes, it's been fun.
So how can people get a hold of you both? I know you're on LinkedIn and you're on Facebook too, I think, right?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn as my name, and also with Kuder, John Kuder, and also Kuder Consulting Group. We've got a business page there. Same with Facebook. We have a website, kuderconsultinggroup.com.
Okay, awesome. And we'll put those links within the show notes and everything in the show notes so people can reach out to you both. And This has been such a pleasure having you both on. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and fun conversation.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, by the way, leave your comments, reach out to them, and make sure that if you are not subscribed to Expert in You podcast, that you subscribe, because every week we release a new show, and I don't want you to miss me interviewing these amazing people that are out there doing great things, making great impact, and helping all of you in business succeed. So thank you both. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed this episode, I want to invite you to go check out a free training that I have at expertinu.us. It is a training that I have on how you can get ultra premium dream clients, scale your business, get more freedom, and really simplify your business and multiply your money. So go check that out. And again, that is expertinu.us. I want to thank you for being here with me this week. I hope you found massive value. Please always leave a comment, feedback, or a question. We check them all. And I want you to go rock your business, and make sure you join us again next week. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.